all, it's Nim or Nimicry if you're feeling professional, and welcome to the YouTube video. Now today we're going to be talking about an issue that is germane to Dragonflight, and that is mains. How do we choose them? With all the changes that have come up recently, and nerfs, which you can see at nerfedweekly.com if you're a paladin, you have to understand that people are going to change classes, mains, specs. So how do we decide that in a way that makes sense? Because if you listen to the community is going to go, rah, rah, this is bad, rah, rah, this is good, and then 10 minutes later, it's gonna switch. So, let's think about this in a logical fashion. We'll break it down over the course of the video, and I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, let's get started on that process. So, it's getting ready to be the big day, 11/28/2022. The launch of Dragonflight. Now, ideally, you are going to have chosen your main, let's say, at least a day beforehand. Maybe right at the moment, maybe like, I don't know, I throw my hands in the air, I've checked Wowhead, I don't get it, so, I don't know, Shaman. That is one option. So if you just get a feeling like, I want to try it, go nuts, you can ignore the rest of the video, be sure to subscribe below. In fact, something on the screen. For all the MMO content that happens, you can enjoy that, and we'll go from there. Now, let's say you want to have just slightly a little less roll the dice RNG simulator. You want to save your RNG for the gameplay, not how you're going to play the game. Fantastic. As we do this, so you can see I've got a bunch of different characters, right? You know, stuff playing, and I've got characters all over the servers, because I've been all over the game doing stuff. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but whatever. This is my holy priest. This is what I plan on maining in Dragonflight. So the first thing we talk about mains, we're going to have to do is, let's go to create a new character real quick here. You're going to have to choose Horde or Alliance. Now, normally, anybody seriously playing is going to choose Horde. Wearing a Horde t-shirt right now. That's not because I'm think like, oh my god, the Horde are so much better. It's that a lot of the players play Horde. Now, with the introduction of cross-faction raiding and dungeons, you now have a chance to be in the Alliance, which my first character was a human paladin. Human male paladin alliance. So I was basically the vanilla of WoW. And Nim, for the alliance, is still a human paladin. But I love that. So, once you choose your faction and your race, and there'll be certain bonuses and certain drawbacks, and some fights will be great, please, 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 for the love of all that is the light, or the fel, or Elune, or whoever you want, do not chase the meta when it comes to racial abilities. Just don't do it. I'm going to put something up on the screen here now. Boom. And that shows when the Dwarven racial was nerfed, specifically because all of the guilds were going Dwarven, or Dwarf, to help with Castle Nathria. And it got nerfed. So please, please don't chase the meta when it comes to that. It will be changed. And if it's too powerful, it will be nerfed. So, we've chosen our, let's say we choose our thing here. Let's give it a troll, I don't know. We'll be a troll priest. Sure. Troll priest, right? You decide you're going to be a troll priest, you're going to be doing that stuff. Then you get in there, you choose the spec. Now, this is where it might get a little complicated, because, obviously, classes generally have 2 roles they can do. Some have 3, and one has 4. The fourth one, for those curious, of course, Druid, both melee and ranged DPS. So for Priest, as I chose for my main, I have 2 healing specs and 1 damage spec. I'm not a huge... I've played a little bit of Disc, I've played a little bit of Holy, and I've played a little bit of Shadow. Of the 3 specs, I like Holy the most. So I decided to do Holy. The other reason is, switching from a Blood Elf, primarily Ret Paladin, this is going to help me get into groups more, provided I am good. Now, I'll probably still get into groups more on aggregate, because I'll be a healer, and they need a healer, and Ret Paladin is in a place that just... I don't know if they know what to do with it. So they're just like, I guess if we just step on it enough, eventually there'll be enough people who don't play it, and we won't have to worry about it. And maybe, that could be the thing. I don't know. The point that I'm getting at is that through gameplay, I decided, okay, how does this play? I looked up stuff, I saw what was being nerfed, I saw what was being buffed, and I decided to make that choice. Holy Priest seems to actually be in a good spot. So let's take a look at our new systems here, right? We'll take a look at our current systems, then our new systems. And the reason why I want to take a look at our current systems, even though Dragonflight is getting ready to launch, is that the class tree for Dragonflight talent trees is going to take most of my baseline abilities and make me choose from them. So let's take a look here. The thing that really drew me to Holy Priest, outside of, we'll pull up C and P, the Mastery, Echo of Light. I really found that was, okay, that's a raw healing. I heal, direct healing spells, heal for an additional percentage over 6 seconds. Now, I'm not super geared here. I'm not engaging with Shadowland systems because I got this guy to 60 and I'm like, we're just done. So, I'm not engaging with Shadowland systems. But that was the first thing that drew me there because I like that idea. Okay, I want to be a healer. I heal more over time. Now, the Priest doesn't have as much utility maybe as, say, a Shaman in Shadowlands, but I believe everybody is getting an interrupt in Dragonflight. I'll take a look there and see. I could possibly be wrong. But either way, I like how the Holy Priests play. So I have my buttons here. Let's see. Serenity, gives me a miracle. And this is the part that I really like. This is what made me enjoy it. Is if we look down there, you'll see cooldown reduced by 6 seconds when we cast heal or flash heal. So just real simple. Just demonstrate. And we'll just do that. That. And... oh. And as you can see, just by hard casting, just going and going and going, my Holy Word Serenity is now almost off cooldown. I probably cut the entire time in half. I like that because it rewards gameplay, smart gameplay, and if you can overstat something and due to a quirk of systems, degenerate gameplay. It happens with, there was a thing where there was a dotless shadow build that did a lot of damage. I don't know, I think it was back in Mists of Pandaria. I remember thinking, like, but doesn't Shadow do dots? And they're like, yeah, that's why it's so crazy, but it works. And so it's an artifact of design and stats rather than an intentional decision. Anyway, so we see our stuff here. I've got my abilities. We've got Desperate Prayer as a defensive, Dispel, of course, a cleanse is nice. Fade to get rid of threat. Flash Heal, Fleshcraft, Leap of Faith, Levitate, Mass Dispel, very useful. Mass Dispel is incredibly useful. Got Mind Control, which was good. I remember last time that was necessary was the Blast Furnace fight. It was fantastic. Mind Soothe, I've never used. PI, listen, this is another reason why I wanted to roll Priest. PI, Power Infuse. Infuses the target with power for 20 seconds, increasing haste by 25%. Buffs in this game stack. So we do a hero, hit somebody with a PI, watch the DPS meter soar like a Drakthir, right? That's what we want to see. PI means I'm going to constantly be getting whispered, give me PI, give me PI, give me PI. Point is, I'm going to give PI to who I want to, and I'm fine with that. Generally, I'm going to look at who could benefit the most from haste as their primary, secondary stat. And if they're doing decent damage, okay, bam, you get more haste. And then we watch them climb the charts. Of course, I am open to being bribed, as any WoW player is, for, let's say, on parse runs as opposed to progression. Progression, we stick to let's get the fight down. Parse runs, we can play a little degenerate. And when I use the word degenerate, I don't mean it in a derogatory sense. I mean something counter to what the general spirit of the game is. So let's continue through here. Of course, one of the only few remaining buffs that are in the game. Power of Fortitude, very good. I like Shield. Psychic Scream is useful. I've never used Shackle Undead. Shadow Word Death is fun. I just wish it didn't do damage to me, but sure, I guess, whatever. Shadow Word Pain can be fun. Smite, again, it's a thing. Focused Will is fun. Okay. So those are essentially my toolkits for Priest, and then we have Holy, our Healing, Divine Hymn, Guardian Spirit. All these things can be moused over. We're not going to go through all it. But I like the toolkit. It makes sense to me. It's fun to play with. It has good interaction. I generally like a cooldown reduction style of gameplay. If you play in a certain way, you get access to your more powerful abilities faster. I like that. Now, let's go to the next part, which is what I'm going to have in the next expansion. Because not only do you have to consider the potential main for the expansion you're in, but if you're getting ready to transition to another expansion, you need to consider the information that you have in the next expansion. You may ask, Nim, why didn't you go over Disc and Shadow? Well, the reason why I didn't go over Disc and Shadow is because I'm not really interested in Disc, and I'm not really interested in Shadow. If at a certain point that becomes something I'm interested in, I'll learn more about them at the time. But for now, I'm not all that interested in it. Let's look at those talents, though. We're at the Holy Priest Dragonflight Talent Calculator. Now, of course, numbers will be tuned. We are still technically in a beta, but we're past the design iteration of the beta phase. And while, for some people, that brings despair, I'm one of them, we have to live in the environment we live in. Will there be big changes? Maybe. There might be big reworks and patches. I don't know. Maybe it'll be fixed in the next expansion. I don't know. Right now, this is what we're dealing with. So, I have to exist in the world we live in. If we cast our minds back to, again, the beginning of Castle Nathria, unholy DKs were absolute monsters. And that was because their toolkit worked together at a low stat amount. As gear level increased, stats increased, other classes caught up, but unholy DKs were monstrous. In fact, I believe they nerfed Anti-Magic Zone because there were so many DKs that were just stacking together to completely, basically negate an entire mechanic on Sire Denathrius. Also with the spreading of dots, massive single target and AoE damage. But they got nerfed. So here we are at the trees. We have our class tree, boom, and our spec tree, boom. Now, I don't have a build for any of these, right? I haven't looked at it enough, but there are some things I do want to highlight. Obviously, Power Infusion. Well, I mentioned before that Power Infusion was one of the reasons why I wanted to be a priest. I have Power Infusion here. I'm obviously going to take that. Go down one below it. Power Infusion also grants you 100% of this effect when used on an ally. So, there it is. Right there. I throw Power Infusion on somebody. I get Power Infusion. My heals are faster. My damage, faster. My casts, faster. My movement speed, ironically, not faster. It's a weird thing. I wish haste affected movement speed. I believe Demon Hunters, their movement speed is increased by their mastery. At least the Havoc Demon Hunter. Anyways, as we move forward, so we can see a few things here, and again, I'm planning on being a Holy Priest. Do I find it weird that I have to talent into a Dispel? A little bit. I've been critical of the class trees in the past, and now I'm going to be critical again. I think it was a good idea that got away from it. So keep in mind that right now, when you're choosing your main, you have access to a whole bunch of baseline abilities. These abilities you might have had for a long, long time. I know, for example, Lay on Hands. I've had Lay on Hands since Classic. I've had Devotion Aura since Warcraft 3. Those are two talents in the Paladin talent tree. Lay on Hands and Devotion Aura. Now, I think there's another thing tied with Devotion Aura. But the point is that those are talents. They were base abilities, now they're talents. Now I can potentially choose one or the other. I think that's a bad system. I think a much better system for this would have been to make the class tree, make what you do either more specific, more utility-based, more unique, or do more number, whether it be healing or damage or mitigation. But I'm not a class designer. There's a reason why they did this, so so take it with a grain of salt, as I'm just an internet talking head guy and a gamer. But we go through here, we see some cool things, Powered Life, Angelic Bulwark, and you can choose various things. And down here we see a few other things, like for example, Light of the Naru. I believe that's a legendary effect right now. The cooldown of your holy words are reduced by additional 10% when you cast the relevant spells, and that can probably go up to 20%, which again, happy with. So my cooldowns, playing smartly, will get me more holy words and miracles and things like that. So very, very happy with that. The point is, look at what you have to come to work with in the future. This is so it's important to do that. Third, and this one's bad, is community perception. Right? So now I have to caution you. We're going to a place that we should never go to, but we're gonna go there anyways, and that's the WoW General forums. Grab your disinfectant, and let's talk about community perception when picking a main. Here we are at a place where all rational discourse tends to go to die, and that is the WoW forums. I'm on the Priest forums. Why? Because, as part of choosing a main, I need to do just a slight bit of research on a class. It's great that some of these things seem to be fun, but let's see if there's problems from more experienced players. The reason why I chose the general forums as opposed to Twitter is, one, tends to be a pretty negative sample bias, so the people who post here tend to be a little bit more negative, and two, this is much more on topic than, say, a genuine Twitter thread where somebody might be promoting, I don't know, a dog light or something underneath a post. So, let's take a look here. Just some titles. Is it possible to level as a disc? Yeah, sure. It's going to be slow. Shadowy apparition can no longer be seen by allies. Okay. Missing animations? Again, same thing. Where's the Mind Spike animation? Okay, looks like we have 3 right there. 3 animation concerns. Now, I'm not super concerned about that, but I can see why people like to see cool effects. EST Priest in DF, bad again. Okay, so they wanted to commit, but apparently Warlocks are having things, and Shadow Priest is not doing great. We have a Cascade talent from WoD. I didn't play Priest really in WoD, so I don't know. Dragonflight Priest talent feedback. Okay, that's a good thing. You know, it's got a lot of responses, a lot of being seen. Wasn't kidding about giving up. There's a button. And of course, Shadow Priest button bloat concerns. Now that's an interesting thought. So apparently, you know, 2 different threads here. Shadow Priest is going to be bad, but they have too many buttons. So, I mean, again, it could be a skill thing, could be a learned thing. And again, these responses tend to skew negatively. If I were to go into anything else here. So, let's take a look at... Looking to see if there's anything for Holy. Lightwell. Now, I remember Lightwell. Lightwell's in need of fix. Alright, let's take a look here. So, we'll just go in here. I know Lightwell is a classic, iconic priest spell. You drop it down, people click on it, they receive a heal. It's generally the most mana-efficient heal in the game. It's not the most powerful, but it tends to be pretty good. And then, of course, we have people here, need to say, you know, it's so, how can you do this? They need the amount, they need to increase the amount of healing, trigger from 75 up to 50, so the fact you recamp position it means it's useless. It's not bad, it just needs a few things. So now they have, you know, bigger things. So I'm not going to go through all these. There's no reason to, but the point is, this is actually good feedback because Lightwell is a talent I could have picked. I wasn't going to pick it because in general, I don't trust my DPS to do anything but DPS. I don't trust my tanks to do anything but control the fight. I'm the healer. I should be in charge of healing. Now, if there's passive healing or self-healing through a mechanic, or maybe a DPS or tank can do some mitigation and heal themselves, that's great. I generally don't expect them to do that, unless I'm with a guild or a coordinated group. In which case, we can talk and work things out, and they can cover if, for example, I just can't get to it. But in Pugs, I expect the DPS to DPS, I expect the tanks to tank, and I expect, as the healer, to be blamed for all of it. Now, so we've seen a few things here. So right now, we put together, we've got, you know, class mechanics, class abilities going forward, and, of course, community perception. Because here's the thing. You could be the best ret paladin in the game, right? You could absolutely whomp, right? And the community is still probably going to be like, oh, it's a ret. Okay, well, why bring a ret when a holy or prod will do the same thing and are more useful? Because you don't do anything other than just a little bit, you do a little bit more damage than we thought. And while that might or might not be true, because ret can be very, very useful, just as any class that, when played properly, can be very, very useful, how many people really use all of their secondary stuff? For example, Mind Soothe is a priest, right? I'm sure that if there was one pack, I could probably use Mind Soothe on and see if we couldn't maybe skip it. And that might save us a few seconds, which could ultimately lead to a faster Mythic Plus completion time. But what if we have a rogue? Well, the rogue's just gonna sap it. Sap it, rogue. Go nuts. So these are things that I want you to be concerned about with when it comes to choosing a main. Now, of course, remember, there's always the you only live once. So roll a dice and pick something. You can do that too. But if you were looking for an idea to break down my thought process behind picking a main and why I ended up on Holy Priest, this was it. I looked at its class mechanics, and I enjoyed them. I looked at its abilities, and I enjoyed them. I looked at its future abilities, and they seemed good. Now, they weren't everything I wanted. Obviously, we talked about the class tree. And the community perception is okay as well. I'm a healer. I'm going to be invited. That being said, I'm also going to get blamed for basically everything. So, win some, lose some. You can use this approach for any class in the game, and really anything going forward from here on out. So, you're welcome. Now, if you like what I do, or you like what the channel does in specific, go on and hit subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with everything the channel does. Additionally, I've been told I should push this more often. I stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do a lot of MMO content. Sometimes we tiptoe into Dark Souls, and that's kind of a fun time as well. Also, for those who wish to go above and beyond the Call of Duty, for those who wish to parse at rank 1, we have Patreon. And of course, you can find everything for Patreon at patreon.com/Nimicry. There are various levels, various benefits, and we'll go from there. Guys, this was a fun video to make. Hopefully it's informative, hopefully it's helpful, and hopefully it's not ignored by YouTube. So, with that, may the mount you're farming drop on the first kill.